and I just hopped on this joint real quick. Um, mm, Feeling real charged up. Even though I'm kind of a little physically tired though. Feeling real charged up. Feeling real powerful in a humble type of way. Um, Started back to work. Back at the job I quit. Was received with open arms and elation, and people singing my praises. Was kind of like okay, that's cool. But for the life of me, I really don't see why y'all are so uplifted to have me back in here. But I also had to take into account, like I'm trapped inside of my own self. But you never really understand the influence and the impact that your presence has on people as you attempt to live a righteous life. Um, it's literally amazing to me. Other than showing up, typically early because I'm able to do that, and having a generally decent disposition. Um, and try to do whatever I feel like needs to be done just to make it flow easier for everyone involved, taking all parties into account. Not these people think I'm a superstar or like I'm gonna change the corporate culture, but now I understand that because I had left abruptly due to maintaining my own integrity and was hired back 7 months later through a chain of events. Because typically, once I move on from a season of life, typically I don't go back. And I might have stated this in previous videos how um, the things I pursued to hit certain goals weren't manifesting or were delayed or I didn't find it fulfilling. And I was about at the end of my rope as far as like ideas that I could come up with. And I know that you know from typical previous seasons of life, typically the Most High moves on my behalf when I'm at the end of myself, and He actually led me back there. Um, so that's where He decides to plant me. So it's very humbling in the respect of being received warmly, because typically I'm used to like operating in the shadows. So typically I've been like this, but I haven't really been in close proximity of people on a regular basis for them to see what I've been working on internally that then manifests itself outwardly. Um, but that's all praise to the Most High, man. So it further humbled me to trust His plan. And I've had to kind of dial back my own desires. Even though these desires are natural or well meaning or well intentioned, they still can't trump the sovereign plan or will of the Most High. And now that I'm back in this place, I find myself, I guess, back in alignment. So now that I'm back in alignment, now I feel powerful. Not even though I'm physically tired, like I'm charged back up. You know what I mean? Um, and I guess that happens. Like even when I was in early treatment, I was charged up to meet challenges and so on and so forth. Even though I didn't really have a lot, you know, outwardly or financially, but I still had enough to do whatever I needed to do when it came time to me having to do something. So it further hammered home an epiphany I had one time where I was homeless. This has been over, I want to say almost a decade ago, about 9 years, something like that. And I was actually homeless, but I was going to church, and they had twice a week they would have like prayer service in the trailer on the church grounds, and typically they did it around like lunchtime, but then they started a new thing where they were doing it in the evenings about 6, 7 o'clock. So we met up, lunchtime, just kind of meet and greet, whatever, whatever, and then we'll reconvene for the first one in the evening, about 6 or 7, like I said. So I'm like, yeah, now mind you, I'm home, so I'm sleeping basically in a utility closet in a um, apartment complex. And I'm coming out of having lost a rack of money drinking and just being foolish with my finances. I was still reeling from a loss of a significant other and other, things like my friends weren't who they. I actually always knew that they weren't that, but the reality of it became more clear. Then I was in that situation when no one came to help, but I was always the guy who put out everybody's fires. You know what I mean, like that type of stuff. So I'm really, kind of bewildered. You know what I'm saying? Like my thoughts were real disjointed at the time. Like I don't know what to make of nothing. I don't know what to do to move forward, especially carrying all this baggage. So I was, I'm like, when I come back, I'm gonna get an answer from the Most High, right? And we're in there about 2 hours, and I'm not trying to like, well, what about me? You know what I'm saying? We just moving with the spirit, right? And I never forget Sam. That was his name. He was praying for someone, and right before we were ready to let out, and he turned to me and he said, "Oh yeah, God told me to tell you, not yet." So after we let out, now I'm going back to my proverbial hole in the wall cave, and I was just so deflated. Not yet, huh? Like then I'm looking at all this, inward outward stuff, shame, guilt, feeling stupid, I want some vengeance. And then outlive just the whole rigmarole of being homeless and the daily grind of feeding yourself and trying to maintain your hygiene and walking everywhere. And I'm like, not yet, man, yeah. So I remember I laid down in my little box and a voice internally came over my being and said, trust me. And that was like 9 years ago. And now with, recent string of events, and I always had it in my mind. But he seems to speak to me more so in circumstances. Um, and that's just what it is, like a greater sense. Because okay, trust you, but how do I do that? Like I try, like okay, am I trusting, or am I like not being egotistical, or? But I don't really know, like how to work on those things or how to facilitate those things. Now they're always on my mind, but now to a greater degree, it created greater trust. Just like when I first got back to where I am now, I was about at the end of my rope there, and then some financial lessons came that I had been working on for over a year and a half, but they were delayed because it wasn't the right time. But when it was I was able to do what I sought out to do from a financial aspect. It just didn't come the way or through the avenue that I attempted to pursue and in the time, which then increased my trust. I thought he forgot about, or I just regulated myself that because of prior decisions or rebelliousness on my part, I just figured, well, this is just my lot in life, and I should be thankful because I could be dead. So okay, whatever. So I, kind of accepted, struggling to a degree, and I was completely cool night with that. And then when that came through, it boosted up my faith. Like wow, like, and then I noticed that because of the journey he had me walk, um, it actually equipped me and prepared me to live where I live at, where I have a lot of like using history and in a field of work that I never wanted to be in. For then these people to fast forward, I then quit, and then they hire me back with open arms and a raise, which typically doesn't happen. But that's all the favor of the Most High and whatever internal attributes and spirit that have been forged into me. And those things were forged in hardship. You see what I'm saying? So I think every man needs to go through a certain level of hardship, a certain level of uncertainty, and standing in it. So now, even though like even like I'm kind of backed up, but I'll do what I can. But I ain't gonna scramble and scrape like a quarterback trying to elude the sack. I'll do what I can, and then I just accept. Well, my decision making put me in this position. So whatever consequences or credit wise or however that comes, it just comes, and I'll just rebuild, restructure, and refire. I did that. Now I pray he covers me and provides. But if he don't, almost like you know, what was that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were in the fiery furnace? Yeah, he able to deliver us. We know that. But even if we don't, we still not gonna do that. And I find that that's like one of the most powerful stories to me. Like, yeah, we know he can do it, but we alright if he don't. You know what I'm saying? Woo! That's how. That's how. And I guess I gotta get better with these YouTube because I'm not really like the talkative guy. I'm more analytical, more introspective, more observant. Um, And then like when I start talking, like I'll have a certain like I want to stay on, but then I'll branch way off somewhere else. You know what I mean? And that wasn't my intent, but this is almost like therapy for me as well, just to kind of hear myself out loud from what I'm, perceiving inwardly. So I got the day off today, and and then I'll stretch run for about 5, 6 days for another day off. But I'm cool with it. Getting back in the swing of things, the flow of things, building rapport with new clients and new staff members, and just trying to add to the ambiance. I'd rather add to it than take away from it. But at the same time, they also know I'm a very principled individual, and I stood up for what I knew to be right. And even though from, maybe a business standpoint, they ain't like it, but they do respect it as a man, as a human being, which then leads to my integrity. He's a trustworthy guy, so on and so forth. But I guess that would just be today's message. Trust the Most High. What else you gonna trust in? This is the Toothless Wonder signing off from the Bamboozled Again News Network. Almost having bamboozled myself.